Welcome to the Heroes of Hommlet audio drama. This audio drama is a hybrid storytelling experiment inspired by projects like Tale of the Manticore, Legend of the Bones, and the Tales of Mystara. What you'll find here on the podcast portion of this project is an audio drama, much like you would hear narrated from the bones of an audiobook. You won't hear any dice rolls, and we won't talk about the rules of the game. If you're interested in that aspect of the project, please see our YouTube channel. There, we will run an actual play using Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st Edition. This video series on YouTube is your companion piece to understand what dice rolls and what role-playing led to the drama that will unfold here on this podcast. A warning: this podcast will contain detailed descriptions of the occult, violence, witchcraft, death, and profanity. If this isn't to your liking, this podcast may not be for you. If it is, then welcome to Heroes of Hommlet. At dawn, the Horde was roused early from their rest by the signal horns of the Allies, preparing their formations for battle. The packed ranks of the Allied contingents were arrayed so that 500 pikemen were protected on their flank by the Velvediver River, while at the center was displayed the colorful banners of 400 light cavalry and nearly 100 heavy cavalry, all led by Prince Thrommel himself. On the left flank, 200 Lortmill dwarves and 100 Cronhill gnomes deployed, along with about 50 elven archers of Clan Meldarin taking up positions in between. The Horde of Elemental Evil was comprised of two forces. On the Horde's left flank rode 550 human cavalry, made up of bandits and Nulbish thugs with little experience in warfare beyond raiding poorly defended caravan trains. To the bandits' right was a much larger force of humanoid infantry, a host of 3,500 orcs, drawn from the dark forest to the southeast, and even the very depths of Orth. Also among them howled frenzied warbands of gnolls, some 500 strong, and towering over all of them marched nearly 20 crudely armed ogres, culled by the temple from the surrounding wilds to provide heavy support. This has been an excerpt from the Battle of Emery Meadows by Mortal and the Mystic. Its age is unknown. The party entered the inn and was greeted by scents, noise, and a cacophony of light and warmth. Various crowds, grouped all over the inn, turned, and the noise level began to ebb, and breaking the awkward silence, a round, bald man from behind the bar shouted to the party, "Welcome! Be ye seeking a room?" Finn, Harold, and Baldingpot walked up to the bar to the left. Baldingpot found himself too short to see over the bar, so Finn spoke. "Yes, good sir. We require rooms, dinner, and drink for 5. The innkeeper furrowed his brow and checked his rather empty guest log. "So, 5 rooms, sir?" 3 is fine. Also, we'd like stabling for a mule and a cart," said Finn. Would you like a hot bath in each as well?" At this point, Baldingpot hopped up onto a bar stool. "Well, of course, friends. Make your mark here in the ledger. Have a seat. Gwen will be by in a bit. We're a bit busy, as you can see. Welcome to the Inn of the Welcome Wench." Good sir," Harold chimed in. Are these mostly citizens of Hommlet?" The barkeep's eyes widened as he saw Harold's religious garb. Yes,
Mostly, but if you will, no proselytizing here, please. Many follow St. Cuthbert, but we have others who don't. All are welcome. I understand. Frankly, friend, I'm too tired to preach regardless. The group then made its way over to a long table with only one occupant, a slim man in a tunic who was reading a book while enjoying a bowl of stew. As the party, looking weary, approached, he stood, and with a smile he waved them a signal to sit in the empty benches.
Greetings. Hello, my name is Spoonwar.
The party reciprocated, and Harold noticed the now closed book. It is a specific manual of stewardship and discipline that is required reading for priests of St. Cuthbert.
Good sir. I see you are reading, Stewardship and Devotion. Do you regard the cudgel? Why, yes. I'm not a priest, though. I work for a sage, and I am researching the history of the region.
Finn chimed in. This region has certainly seen its fair share of strife.
Of course. And Hommlet, despite being an out-of-the-way, shall we call it hamlet, houses many with tales to tell.
Like what, may I ask, said Harold. Spoonwar, now clearly invigorated by being queried, poured out wine from his carafe.
Well, for starters, Bernie and Rufus fought at the Battle of Emery Meadows. Others, like the Canon Turgeon, his father, in fact, died there. Many heroes of that conflict lived here or still live here.
Emery Meadows? The grasslands to the east?
Said Balding Pop.
Why, yes. That's the scene of the final battle between good and evil. Good folk from all Furiandi came, knights of Luna Rangers, gnomes from the Cron Hills, elves from the gnarly forest. Even Hefling and normal men fought bravely. They gathered to smite a temple bent on bringing a demon lord to the world.
Finn squinted. What do you know of a symbol, an eye with flames above it? Spoonwar leaned in, lowered his voice, and said,
I do know about it. Recently, this area has been beset by bandit attacks. Merchants, supply caravans, even material for building. Burns Castle has been slowed by these attacks. He's been complaining about it incessantly. Survivors claim men in black cloaks with eyes of flame. I would like to investigate this further, but I'm simply a sage. My sword arm isn't too strong.
Spoonwar then grinned, slightly embarrassed. Garl, who had been watching intently the entire time while slowly sipping on his beer, eyed a thick, leather-bound tome sticking out of Spoonwar's bag. He finally chimed in.
That's because you're a wizard.
Spoonwar darted about nervously.
Well, yes. Can't fool a dwarf, I suppose. I don't like announcing it because, some common folk get very nervous.
I get nervous.
Garl, relax, said Finn. So, Spoonwar, we are intent on investigating these bandits. What other information have you gathered? Spoonwar pulled a parchment from his bag. I have this. It's a map to an old moat house. The group's eyes descended on the old paper. Harold pulled forth a fresh paper with an almost identical map. Well, good wizard, I believe we have a common goal. Spoonwar looked at the two maps. Well, my master claims that a warlock once laired there, and I am seeking any remains. Magical items, lore, scrolls. The party nodded, and Harold and Spoonwar began to discuss Cuthbertian eschatology. Hey, Garl, how's the stew?
He belched. Good by human standards.
Finn wandered over to pay the tab.
Thank you, good ranger, said the barkeep. I don't believe we've been formally introduced. I am Ostler. Good to meet you. I'm Finn. Say, ranger, I've heard that your kind have keen eyes. Maybe you could do me a favor. Finn, barely smiling at this point, said, Sure. What can I help with? Well, my patrons. They're complaining that this gambler is a cheater. He's spending his gold, and he's certainly cheerful, but maybe you can catch him.
Finn let out an exhausted sigh. He then bit his tongue. The thought of drinking and gambling at this hour made him sick.
Look, good barkeep, we really aren't looking for a bar fight. It's been a very long day. Oh, I understand, but I am really looking to clean up the place, and if you could do this for me, we could maybe arrange for long-term lodging at a really good price. Finn turned to the table, turned back to the barkeep, and said, Okay, let me talk to my companion. His eyes squeezed, and he noticed Balding Pot gulping down an ale. I might have a solution for you. Finn sauntered back over to the table. Baldy, looks like there's some dice games over there, maybe some cards. Are you up for it? At that point, the Hin's eyes lit up, and he ordered another flagon of ale and marched over.
Better than book study in ancient parchment. Let me show these bumpkins how it's done.
Finn smiled and followed Balding Pot over, leaving his less sociable friends to pore over the map. On the way over to the table with the gambling, Finn's eyes scanned the inn. They met a Bacloonish man, as well as his large companion, seated over near the fireplace. The bald Bacloonish man was dressed as a monastery brother. His companion was slowly sipping a large ale, and by the look of it, his height may even eclipse Boar's. The monk nodded to Finn, returned a glance, and returned to whittling a wooden icon.
Forget that. Your luck can't hold out.
Balding Pot was seated at a round table with two patrons, along with a third, who was clearly the man the barkeep was referring to. This man was dressed well, and adorned with flowing brown hair, as well as a stylish goatee. He looked up at Finn. Care to join in, my friend? Name's Fernach. Finn replied. No, my friend here is losing enough for us both. Finn kept his attention focused on Fernach's hands, the edges of the table, the floor. Nothing stood out to him. Finn did recognize the man's smooth dexterity and natural wit, as he continued to win hand after hand from the locals in Balding Pot. 3 hands into the dance, Fernach was up 3 gold. Balding Pot began to get agitated. The locals had bowed out. Finally, Garl wandered over. He said to Finn, Too much to drink, and a one-armed monkey's luck. What are you down?
Hey, I'm only down 3. Give me a chance.
The wily rogue replied, Well, your luck hasn't really held in cards. How about we end the evening with some dice? What do you say?
Oh, absolutely. Dice are my specialty.
The bones began to rumble across the table, and Balding Pot slowly moved another gold to Fernach's pile. Roll after roll, Balding Pot continued to lose. Finally, Fernach extended his hand. Good games, my friend. Let's play again tomorrow. By this point, the rest of the group had come over to watch Balding Pot's abject failure. Harold, in particular, had a disapproving scowl. Fernach looked the group over, having taken in the evening's gossip, collected his gold. He clearly recognized them as adventurers. He took off his cap and bowed. The well-dressed rogue bowed to the now assembled group. I am Fernach of Fern. As the evening has progressed, news of your heroics has spread. We were victims of brigandry, yes. A scourge on the road, said Finn. Finn and Harold closely studied Fernach's reaction to this statement. Fernach cleared his throat. Well, if I could be of service to such an esteemed group, I would be most honored. I am a jack of many trades, not just cards and dice, and I enjoy a good adventure, and I'm always seeking rare artifacts. Harold whispered under his breath to Finn. We hardly need a gambler and a showman. Finn whispered back. I'll watch him. I actually believe him to be a little bit more than he appears. He's not just a prankster. We intend to infiltrate a fort, do we not? Can you pick a locked door? Because I surely can't. Fernach, now clearly reading the room and Harold's dissent. Good sir, I am an experienced climber, and I can help with, stuck doors. Garl chimed in. What are your terms, sir? Well, leave it to the dwarf to get down to business. I ask for a fair share of any found treasure and a chance to buy from the group any artifacts that we might find in these darkened ancient tombs. Garl extended his hand. I will hold you to task. I accept your deal. The group, now confused at how Garl had usurped leadership, assented anyway. Very good, Master Dwarf, said Fernach. Unseen by the party, Garl had been giving small signals and motions that indicate that Fernach is familiar with the art. Harold, now resigned to accepting this man into the group, said,
We leave an hour past dawn, and we won't wait for you. Furnock nodded. Well, good sir, then I must get some sleep. Good night. The party watched as Furnock headed up the back stairs. Finn and Balding Pot headed back to the innkeeper, who was beginning to wind down the rowdy inn. Well, anything? Said Ostler. Finn said, he's a gambler, to be certain, very keen, but I don't think he's cheating. I do think he's fleecing some very drunk patrons, though.
Yep, in fact, that's how I lost,
said Balding Pot. The innkeeper sighed. Very well. 3 rooms, then, and the food. It'll be 18 silver. We'd also like to pay for stabling and care for our mule and cart for a week as well. The innkeeper tallied up the total for the stabling, the rooms, and the food. A huge man with barreled arms slammed a tankard down. One more, Ostler, for old time's sake. Elmo, you're hardly 25 years old. You don't know old times. No, but I'm a hell of a woodsman. He turned over to Finn. Sounds like you're headed off to the woods and could use a guide. Finn scanned the inebriated young ox and saw Harold glaring and shaking his head. Maybe next time, my friend. Our expedition is full. The group then gathered and headed upstairs. Garl and Balding Pot went to settle Destrian and park the cart in the well-adorned stables. As the party goes upstairs, Harold requests that they all meet him in his room. Friends, that monk, and the big man.
Is that the title of a poem?
Baldy, come on, said Finn. What is it, Harold? I noticed them as well. Harold took a more serious tone. Turgeon and Canonus Yde suspect that agents of evil are among us, here in Hommlet and also in Verbabank. And those 2 by the fireplace were definitely eyeing us. Garl looked at Harold with a questioning glare. Is this just the church stuffiness of your eyes and ears? Perhaps a little of both. Something just isn't right with them. Let's just be aware and alert and a little less forthcoming with strangers. Boar, who had been quiet throughout the evening, stood. Agreed. Let us rest. Ranger, how far is this place on foot, this moat house? Well, Boar, about a day and a half, depending on the terrain and the weather. We're going to go ahead and bring about 5 days' worth of food just to be safe. Garl turned to the assembled party. Furnock. Hey, Baldy, I think you saw it also. Balding Pot almost nodded off, but gave a thumbs up. Furnock is he's versed in the art, very well versed. He will be an asset if we end up in the bowels of an old fort. Harold cringed. Doing what, exactly? Dancing? Painting? Finn chimed in. Harold, he's a thief. He's a burglar, Harold. Harold, now seated with his head in his hands. By his mustache, what have I done in agreeing to this?
Well, Harold, if we're being honest here, Garl and I were once burglars. I'm going to sleep. I hope you still love me in the morning, though.
Balding Pot patted Harold on the head. Harold, I'm using the term broadly here. Call him a scoundrel, call him a rogue. That may be more accurate, but not every door will be unlocked. Not every wall equipped with a ladder. Trust one thing, Harold. Trust that Furnock trusts in coin. Spoonwar, who had been listening intently, chimed in. If I might say so, my friends, he is certainly well equipped. He, I believe, has a magic ring, and I believe a magic dagger. I suspect he is no novice. Boar gave him a glowering look. You know this how? Spoonwar, always excited to engage. Well, my friend, I actually have a magic duomer I can use, and I took the liberty of using it to show my eyes if any items were magical or enchanted in the inn this evening. I also cast it the other night on some old trinkets. Those, unfortunately, were mundane, but Furnock's were aglow. Finn nodded his agreement. Good. We'll need all the help we can get. Garl, thinking out loud, looked at the group, shrugged his shoulders. Wish I had a magic ring. Good night.
You've been listening to Heroes of Hommlet, an audio drama built on an actual play hosted on YouTube. The background music used in Heroes of Hommlet is licensed from tabletopaudio.com under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivative 4.0 International License. If you want to leave feedback, have a question, or a comment, please visit our YouTube channel at 5 Magics Game Club, or just search Heroes of Hommlet on YouTube to find the actual plays. Thanks again for listening, and see you next session.